Welcome back to Drive the Lane, Ohio State basketball, football, you name it show. We got some big news to kick things off. If you're listening, we probably sound a little better. We're using our high-quality equipment. That's how important this announcement is. If you're watching, you can see we have a little bit of a different setting because here's the deal. We have a new official presenting sponsor of Drive the Lane, and it's Welcome to the Farm, a brand new Ohio State bar in Chicago, River North. It's the official Ohio State alumni bar in Chicago, and it's freaking awesome. It's awesome for so many reasons. Obviously, it's a place to be for Ohio State football, and we're going to make it the place to be for Ohio State basketball. But a couple of upcoming events for our friends over here at Welcome to the Farm. This Saturday and Sunday, Clayton Mann is performing. Sunday night, come pack the place for Bears, Texans, Sunday Night Football. For our listeners, that's C.J. Stroud's Texans on Sunday Night Football against the Bears. And then Wednesday, how cool is this? Chase Rice album release party here at Welcome to the Farm. That's this upcoming Wednesday, less than a week. And then, like I said, every Saturday, Ohio State football. But that's not it for football, is it, Joe?
No, that's not. And somehow, after listing all those amazing things, Andrew missed a few things, which, if you can't tell, it's
our first time.
It's our first time doing this. Like Andrew said, every Saturday, Ohio State football. Every Sunday, come watch the NFL games. Come watch your favorite Buckeyes. Come watch your Bears play. 11 o'clock open on Saturdays for college football. Noon opening for all your NFL games. And every 4 to 7, Monday through Friday during the week is the happy hour. That's their opening. That's the best deals. That's where you get your good seat for Thursday night football, Friday night college football action on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, whatever you need. Come here to the farm. I can tell you from experience, both of us, the last few weekends since the opening, picture this. If you haven't gone yet and you're in Chicago or if you're visiting from Columbus/Ohio, bottom floor, awesome sports bar, TVs everywhere, great food, brisket nachos, phenomenal, awesome smoked wings, you name it, they've got it here, incredible food. And then if you just take a walk upstairs, it's like a country rodeo club up here with live music, dancing, and a wide open dance floor that we're looking at that you can't see behind the camera, as well as bars on each side, and just an awesome atmosphere. Again, we know from experience how great this place is. Please come out to the farm and support these guys. They have been nothing but great to us, and they will be nothing but great to you guys the rest of eternity, but especially this football and basketball season.
I think we might watch Ohio State win the national championship here.
Unless we're in person. But here's the deal. We're not only going to talk about Welcome to the Farm, more on them later, though. Ohio State football, it's the bye week. That's why this episode's coming out a little later in the week because it's going to last us a little while. Hope to have another episode next week as well. We will.
But
it's just safe to say we will.
Ohio State's, they look unbeatable, so we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little NFL fantasy football. I'm out on the Browns. Joey's in on the Bears. So we'll talk a little football. We'll talk a little bit basketball. We'll find a way to sneak it in there. But first on Ohio State football, they truly did look unbeatable for the second week in a row. And it's not everyone has looked unbeatable. Penn State definitely didn't look unbeatable.
3 teams look unbeatable.
Right. Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Mizzou, 4 teams.
4 teams look unbeatable.
4 teams. But
totally.
Michigan lost. Penn State looked bad. We were talking about it. The Michigan line is up to, like, the hypothetical line's up to 17.5 right now. So truly,
Oregon has been tested in both games by Idaho and by Boise State. They needed 2, like, special teams defensive touchdowns in order to win that game.
They were preseason 4, and they're 9 now, and they haven't lost. That, like, doesn't happen. You have to look.
Are they really 9?
They're 9.
So
Mizzou jumped up to 6. Yeah.
Holy cow, Mizzou, unbeatable.
And Penn State went down too. You don't really see that type of movement when you don't lose early on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, rankings are so silly in the beginning of the year because for basketball and for football and for basketball. Because obviously, like, you don't know, like, Florida State was ranked, they're terrible. Clemson, they didn't look that good. They did look good this past weekend, but the first weekend lost to, I mean, they were just looked inferior to Georgia. Like, Michigan's the reigning national champs, therefore they're automatically in the top 10. They won a great matchup for that Texas game. they look.
They're
horrendous.
17 now.
I know.
It's
Notre
crazy.
Dame lost to NIU.
Yeah.
Obviously we could talk about teams that Ohio State doesn't play, but yeah, of the teams that you looked at going into the year, it's like, okay, look out for the Oregon game, the Penn State game, the Michigan game, bare minimum. And maybe like some people are like, oh, Nebraska, they've got Ohio State's quarterback. Blah, blah.
Right.
But those three teams, we've briefly talked about them. But
They have
Michigan,
the Chiefs quarterback, Nebraska.
They do. So watch out for Nebraska. Oregon, we play first. Oregon doesn't look super scary. Obviously, they had the preseason Heisman favorite. He hasn't looked amazing yet. They got to hit their stride.
And it is on the road.
You're not just going to go into Eugene and just steamroll them. We might, but it won't be that'll be a tad bit unexpected if it happens. Penn State, looked amazing in their first game. You look at that quarterback and you're like, holy cow, he's figured it out. He's going to win.
He forgot it week 2.
And then he left it at
What's
home.
the opposite of figuring it out when you've already figured it out? Stumped.
Forgetting it.
He forgot it.
Yes.
He figured it out. Yeah, he forgot it.
Just forgot it. And then Michigan obviously looked, it looked like men against boys.
Right.
Against
Michigan
Texas.
at home, and the line is already
17
and a half.
Yeah.
That's pretty
double check
unheard of. But as we look at this, and we want to look at it as seasoned veteran Ohio State fans and watchers of college football.
Ball knowers.
It's not just like Penn State on the road's the game they're going to lose. Or is Penn State on the road's not the game they're going to lose, or Oregon's the game they're going to lose. Like, if Nebraska was on the road, I would be like, that feels a little bit like a trap game. It's not Penn State. It's not Michigan. Like, they have all the trap games besides Northwestern, which is in Wrigley, which will be 98% Ohio State fans.
Going to be so fun.
And stay tuned with some cool stuff for Welcome to the Farm with that. But, most years you can find, a true trap game on the schedule.
However, just for devil's advocate's sake, and I was having this conversation with, honestly, it might have been an Iowa fan at the Farm last Saturday because Iowa played leading into Ohio State. Regardless, the conversation was, who is Ohio State going to lose to? They always falter to those random teams. I said, well, yeah, that was under Urban Meyer where they'd lose to the Iowas, the Purdues of the world, but still get up for the Penn State, Michigan States, Michigan games and beat the crap out of them. Ryan Day doesn't lose to unranked teams. He doesn't lose to non-conference opponents. Literally has never lost to an unranked opponent. He's never lost to a non-conference opponent.
Oregon. Well, they weren't.
They were ranked.
Oh, so you're saying an unranked opponent ever, and
I guess I'm thinking about them in the Big Ten. They weren't in the Big Ten at that point. So
they've never lost. Ryan Day has never lost a non-Michigan regular season game in conference teams that are now in the Big Ten.
Put that on a quote card. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You can fact check me, but I'm pretty sure the basis of my argument was they don't lose to the Purdues, the Marylands. They've had some scares, but they don't lose to those teams anymore. So,
well, let me ask you this: as a fan,
please ask away.
As a fan, which years felt better? That you lose to Maryland, you beat Michigan?
Truth?
Yeah. I mean, how bad have the last few years been?
The Urban Meyer years felt better because you knew we were beating Michigan,
right?
And you knew we were going to win the Big Ten championship. Now this year feels different because Michigan is not very good, not up to their reigning championship standards. I think Ohio State is the bona fide number one team in the conference where, you couldn't say that the last 2, maybe 3 years. I was also in school for the Urban Meyer years, so maybe it was a little bit more fun for that reason too, and you're more confident. But, Ryan Day is the most important year in the history of college football this year. Ohio State is the most championship or bust team, ever, at least one that's been in my universe before. And they started slow against Akron and since then have literally looked unbeatable. Obviously they're playing Western Michigan. It's not like they're playing fucking world beaters, but still they look unbeatable.
And I agree with you. Let's take it one step further. Let's do it. And if we have the same one, it's fine. We have to pick a loss. Okay? We both don't think they're going to lose, but if you had $100 and you said you have to put it on one team against Ohio State money line.
Georgia in the college football playoff?
No, it has to be regular season. I think the answer, despite a shitty first half last week, it probably still is Penn State on the road.
I think it's Oregon, but same reasoning. I mean,
I like
Oregon
having
because
different
Oregon
different
because
opinions.
it's earlier in the season and maybe they don't have as much momentum, and Ohio State's riding high, and they're like, we're the best when they haven't played anybody.
Right, they're going
Penn
to
State,
pound
they'll be a
Marshall,
little bit.
they're going to pound Michigan State, they're going to pound Iowa.
Yeah, like Iowa maybe will be a tougher game, but
Yeah.
but Penn State is like Ohio State will be a little bit more battle tested, know a little bit more about themselves. I think Oregon is still like you expect to win, but for the same reasons, I think we're in agreement that Penn State and Oregon, there's no such thing as going into a ranked team on the road in conference and being like, yep, chalk this one up. That's a win.
I do think it will be interesting. It's always interesting to like look back and see what these teams are ranked at the end of the year. You know, like I hate when teams are like, oh, they beat number 12.
Well, that's what the SEC
Iowa,
does.
right? They beat number 12 Ole Miss. It's like, well, just because they were 12 at the time, their end of season ranking is more accurate of what they are. Like if Ohio State beats Oregon and Oregon loses 2 more times and they're 21 at the end of the year, then they didn't beat a 12th ranked Oregon. They beat a 21st caliber team in the country.
That's the same point that I was making, I guess, at the beginning, is that the rankings in these first few weeks are so irrelevant. Like, how can you – in basketball, maybe it's a little bit different because you play so many games and teams go from ranked to unranked to ranked to unranked, and then they're playing great in March or whatever. In football, it's like once you get unranked, like it's hard to climb back up depending on the time. And, like, there's not the same metrics of, you know, when you make the NCAA tournament, you can look at the nets and their strength of schedule and all this stuff much closer because there's a larger sample size than football where they're just desperately trying to make some sort of college basketball-esque college football playoff.
Right.
Which
What's
is great.
weird,
It's great. It sounds great. It's just hard.
What's weird, and I wonder if college basketball would ever do this, is like Ohio State could lose in the Big Ten championship, be ranked 2, and be the 5th seed in the college football playoff because the Big Ten champion, no matter what they're ranked,
gets a top 4 seed,
which is a bye. It would be interesting.
Well, Notre Dame is going to be the 5th seed every year.
Right, not this year.
I guess not.
What would be interesting, though,
does Riley Leonard suck?
What would be interesting, though, would be if, like, in future years, it's like, okay, you're in Power 5, you're in Big 10, SEC, Big 12, whatever the conferences end up being. If you win your conference tournament, you're a 1 or a 2 seed, you know, in basketball. That would be like the equivalent of that, which would be weird.
The equivalent of it is if you win, you're in, which is the same way.
Right.
College football and basketball is the same.
But you don't get your opponent. You're not.
But you don't play a tournament to get to the championship.
You're not rewarded the same way necessarily. You're
rewarded. And also,
with
Northwestern can't win the Big Ten championship unless they're in it.
Right.
And you have to be one of the best 2 teams.
Right.
Well, I guess in the Big Ten this year, there's a few teams that don't make it, which is hilarious.
It will be interesting to see who is in the Big Ten championship against Ohio State.
How crazy is it going to be with the years where Ohio State plays Michigan?
And then plays Michigan.
And then plays
Michigan.
And then they wouldn't make it, so they would play in the first round, but maybe they play in the second.
Yeah, it'll be weird.
3 times in 4 weeks. Will that even be fun? Does that ruin, like, honestly, like, does that ruin a rivalry if it's played so much?
I think it will be rare where they play in the regular season and the
Big Ten
championship. I just think I would like to look at how many times that would have actually happened over the years. I guess it probably would have happened it would have happened the last few years. But my guess would be that is less likely to happen. I feel like the more likely scenario.
Well, there's more teams now, so that I don't know what that does too.
Yeah. Obviously, the percentages go down when there's more teams.
Right. But also it means if you lose twice.
The beauty of having them in the same side of the conference.
Well, they play every year.
Right. Well, now there's no divisions. The beauty of them in the division was that couldn't happen. So now, theoretically, it could happen.
Right. And that was also, obviously, with them being on the same side, so they play every year. It was just funny when...
I'm pretty sure that happened with the Browns a few years ago. They beat the Steelers to get into the playoffs, and then they played them the next week, and they beat them again in the playoffs.
Well, that makes a lot more sense because a wild card team doesn't play the best team.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but in college basketball, if think about the quadrants, right?
Right, that you can't match up in round 2.
You can't, definitely can't play in the first round,
Right.
and unless you have 9 teams in the tournament, which is, I think I've told this story on the podcast, but when I was sitting in Holtman's basement, all of us, and we all agreed, like, do not check our phones, which really was only, like, me, because I was the one who's, like, following all the guys that are, like, leaking stuff. And everyone was like, don't check your phones. Coaches had their phones away, too. Like, don't check your phones.
What was the status? What was the status of the team? For sure?
No, we were so bubble. Like, we were going to be an 11 seed. And essentially, I knew that rule because I was, like, me and Holtman were meeting, like, after practice. Like, what do you see from, like, Bridget? What does Joe Lenardi have us?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do we, like, I'm looking at that stuff so he doesn't have to. And I vividly remember Minnesota gets announced. And I was like, that's the 8th team. Like, why are they playing? Why are they going to play Michigan State if they win? That's only the 8th team. And I was like, oh, my God, we're in. And sure enough, 2 teams later, I, like, tap Scooney Penn on the side. I'm like, this is us. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is, and it was us. He's like, oh, my God, Joey, what? Like, we're going nuts.
So you didn't see it. You just figured
it out. I had no
out.
clue, but, like, I was like, hold on. That's
cool.
The 8th team, and they're playing each other. That means there's 9 teams. So we're in.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, we're in. We're playing Iowa State. I'm like, Cyclones. Who's scared of a Cyclone? We're a bunch of nuts.
So, long story short, to wrap this, finding a loss for Ohio State up is neither of us
It'll
think,
be against Iowa State.
Right. Neither of us think they're going to lose. If you go to your head,
Oregon,
one,
which is probably the popular pick.
Oregon, I say Penn State. I mean, they're literally 8 and 9 right now, and both on the road. It's about as even as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a fun thing to bet on. Does Ohio State score more points against Oregon or Penn State? Would be an interesting thing.
What do you think?
I think Oregon's not good.
I agree. I think they score more points on Oregon.
Yeah.
less of a hostile environment, maybe, too.
Yeah. I think they're just going to pound both teams, truly.
The fact that I haven't taken Ohio State minus 17.5 against Michigan.
It's just going to keep going up.
It's just going to keep going up. But that's no fun. I love first quarter totals. I'm all over first quarter totals lately against these crummy teams. We at the farm last weekend, Andrew wasn't here. We had a table of 10 guys, 10 lads that all put some cash on Ohio State and Western Michigan to score a combined 14 points in the first quarter. It was 21 points combined with like 3 minutes left, like just massacred. So anyway, that's Ohio State football talk. Obviously, bye week. We'll be there next week.
Yeah.
Against Marshall. We haven't gotten tickets yet, but we will be there.
Yeah.
We're not going 6 hours to just hang around at a tailgate.
We will be there. There's not really much Ohio State basketball to talk about. Not really any new updates. We're going to work to deliver you guys with the best guests and content. Joey, I don't know if we're going to do it. I think we should try and break our record with players in a season this year. I think there was one year where we had like EJ, Kyle, Zed.
EJ's in Chicago now.
Yeah.
That'd be bring him over to the farm.
Yeah. We talked about that, yeah. But I think there was one year where we had 4 players in Holtman. I think we should try this year to get Diebler, another coach, and 5 players. And break our record.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer.
And we'll find a way to get Holtman this year.
Yeah, we could just go interview
Just knock
Holtman.
on his house. Just knock on his door.
Just for the laughs.
But
I'm gonna be, oh my God, I'm gonna go to so many DePaul games. They're gonna have to kick me out of there.
Yeah. But sticking with football a little bit, real quick, because we talked about it a lot last week. I am 100% out on Deshaun Watson. 100% in. The Bucks are my new favorite NFL team. Baker Mayfield, I've never said a bad thing about him. Never said anything bad with his last year as the Browns quarterback.
I have a Baker jersey, so.
I definitely didn't say that they should get rid of Baker and bring in Deshaun. I definitely didn't say any of that. I'm obviously still a Browns fan, but what a rough first game. And what a rough first game it looked like for the Bears. And then all of a sudden, it was the greatest. I mean, I just can't imagine that happening to my team because usually when the Browns are down that much, they just end up losing by even more.
Same with the Bears.
Worst debut by a rookie quarterback by a number 1 overall pick ever. And
that's just not true.
Not true. But just a weird less than 100 yards. It's like he didn't play.
Yeah, I'm about as happy as I could be with him playing bad. If they would have lost that game, disaster.
Yeah.
But
Keenan dropped a touchdown. He overthrew Keenan for another touchdown. So there's your stats right there.
Yeah, totally. Sure. He made some huge plays when he had to. He had a third down conversion when nothing was happening with his feet. He had a couple of he showed glimpses of some nice passes. His comments after the game were awesome. Like, he's just such a never get too high, never get too low. It's so amazing, like, having a guy that you're just, like, building towards, and he's set up for success with I guess it's supposed to be a great offense, which they'll show it eventually, but the defense, holy cow, that's part of setting him up is the defense is going to keep us in every single game.
Yeah.
Like, the special teams, like DeAndre Carter, he got to be the best kick return in the league. He was unbelievable.
Besides Velus Jones.
Velus Jones lives to torture us. But, the offense will step up. I'm not worried. Like, it was about as happy as I could be. I picked the Bears in Survivor just to be like, let me stick it to everybody. Like,
that's a good pick.
No number one pick is one. It changes now. Caleb's different. And
I took the Seahawks.
That did not look good. Who'd you take for this week? 3, 2, 1.
Chargers. We're fucked.
So dead. I hate picking road favorites for Survivor.
But they're playing the worst team ever. But they'll probably still win. One thing about Caleb, I think what he'll learn is in college, he could scramble whenever he wants.
That killed him, the one play.
But if that doesn't happen to him early in his career, he'll never know when he can do it and when he can't do it.
And now he knows that he can't.
I don't think he knows yet. He'll still take some.
Oh, he doesn't know when he got a 29-yard loss?
No, he'll still take some bad ones this year for sure. But in college, every time he did that, maybe 9 out of 10 times when he did that,
something
he just
great
got
happened.
a first down or a touchdown or won the Heisman.
Right.
Now it's like
did win the Heisman.
Maybe there was one player that you were playing against on that defense that went to the NFL. This is 12. And I know it's 11 on the field, but I'm saying 12 because whoever they would be subbing in, guess what? He's also in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
no, that's very fair. I think that was a killer that, if you watch the game, he dropped back to pass, spun one way, spun another way, spun back, and next thing you know, we went from 1st and goal to 2nd and goal from the 40.
Coolest 30-yard sack ever, though.
I guess.
There was like a few times when I was like, he's going to do this.
Trust me, I felt the same way. But yeah, now it's like, okay, instead of the Bears losing in demoralizing fashion with our first overall pick quarterback not playing well, and now we got to play arguably the most exciting team, best team maybe in some way besides the Chiefs in the NFL, in Sunday Night Football in primetime wearing our orange jerseys. Instead, we are 1-0, and whatever happens, happens. So, listen, it was an exciting weekend. It's fun being a Buckeye Bears fan right now because there's a lot of optimism for different reasons for both teams. And I am blessed to be able to watch every game at the farm, too. So it's
there you go.
It's great. I still think I still like Nico, the quarterback from Tennessee, for Heisman. I have Joe Burrow for MVP. I don't feel great about that anymore.
Ooh, I cashed out my Camerizing Heisman with $4 left.
What'd you put on it?
Garrett Wilson to have 2 touchdowns in the Monday Night Football game.
Well, what'd you have?
Oh no, it was
for?
like 15 to win the Heisman.
I can cash out. I have. I can cash out for half of my Joe Burrow, which is not good.
I can cash out for more on my Jalen Milroe, so I'm happy about that. But I'm gonna let it ride, obviously, because it's like $16 more right now, which wouldn't be bad considering in a week it could be gone. But
Dominic Solanke to score the most goals in the Premier League for Tottenham is 1/5 of what I started with.
Pull it out.
No, at that point, there's no reason to.
Yeah.
He's played 1 game out of 3. He got hurt.
That's
and
rough.
Holland, who's leading the league in goals, has 7 in 3 games. So that's more than 2 goals a game, Andrew.
I'm familiar with the math and the sport.
Anyway.
Love rugby. But